r/Nosleep. Posted by you/likeeyedid. The ring of the bell signals the death of another camper. Part 2. Greetings strangers and soon-to-be friends. With an enthusiastic 3 times hooray, we lovingly welcome you to Camp Tallytale. We hope you are ready for days filled with sunshine, friendship, and most of all fun. And when we say days, we mean as long as you can last, of course. Attached you will find the program for the day. Soon you will be united with the rest of your group and the next edition of the tournaments can begin. The note was sitting on one of the beds in the bungalow where Lars and I had been locked in. We had gone through multiple phases by now consisting of shouting, smashing our bodies against the door, and looking for secret escapes. We had long given up on trying to call anyone. Either these people had somehow exchanged my phone without me realizing, or this whole mess was even bigger than I thought. The program only said lunch and hunt. Do you think the other people living here will come back soon? I asked Lars. There were 4 beds in the wooden hut. 2 of them didn't have any sheets, blankets, or pillows. The other 2 however looked as if someone had been sleeping in them. We also found t-shirts with different names on them. Ian and Julian. Maybe their bodies are already hanging from the entrance, Lars numbly responded. The shirts were the only items we could find, the only clues there were so far. The whole situation felt entirely surreal. We hadn't slept at all and were surely losing our grip on reality. They knew who we were. They knew it was us when we called. They had it all planned out, I mumbled more to myself than to Lars. I think we've been here before, he whispered. No, we surely have been here before. I just can't remember how and why we left and how the hell we ended up in that pub. I interrupted him. Lars nodded. It all seemed so logical to me last night. We had been on a hike, we found a pub and had a few drinks. Nothing too unusual, but as hard as I tried, I simply couldn't remember anything that preceded that hike. I couldn't remember where we met up, when we started leaving, or what route we took at all. It felt as if a part of my memory had been wiped away. The one thing that was bugging me the most, however, was that it all seemed so normal to me yesterday. I felt like I was just waking up from a dream. What exactly do you remember? I asked. Lars stayed quiet for a while. I know we stayed in this hut before and I vaguely remember the other dudes. He pointed at the 2 beds on the left side of the bungalow. And that we were afraid of them. My eyes shifted towards the beds. If they were trapped here just like us, shouldn't they be on our side? Though thinking about the agitated campers we met in the morning, I don't think the people in this camp were all that normal, or at least not exactly conscious of their actions. Do you remember what this tournament is all about? He shook his head. But from what we saw this morning, I suggest we play along. I don't think they like people going against. We both jumped up as we heard the sound of a knock on the door. The knocking had the same tune to it as the ringing of the bell we heard as they hung a dead girl out the entrance sign. Ding ding dee dee ding. The sound still sends a shiver down my spine. Hello hello hello. You have absolutely no idea how much we missed you, folks. The door opened and we were greeted by the freakishly white smile of a man dressed as a scout. The fabric of his uniform resembled something an action figure would wear. As if it was created out of Play-Doh and plastic. I hadn't noticed yesterday, but there was something very uncanny about it. His skin was shiny and smooth and his hair perfectly groomed. He looked nothing like someone working at a camp, more like he was created in a laboratory. My name's Jeremiah. You knew that before, but you don't anymore. Lars and I exchanged eye contact. I knew we were both thinking about storming the guy and trying to run, but neither of us made a move. Those people were not scared of us, which made it even more obvious to me that we should be scared of them. The smile of the man turned into a frown. Gosh darn it, boys, you're not wearing your shirts. How will the other campers know you belong to them? He kept staring at us, not blinking at all for what felt like minutes. The smile became more forced by the second and we could see the sweat forming on his forehead. His head slightly shifted and his gaze was pointed towards the shirts they had thrown in the cabin when they locked us in. The atmosphere was so tense and massively fucked up. We couldn't take it for long until we took off our shirts and put on the pink camp shirts with our names on them. Oh, don't you look marvelous? Now hand me those nasty old fabrics and let us go to have some lunch, shall we? He ripped our shirts off our hands and gestured us to follow him. Should we make a run for it? I whispered towards Lars while we slowly followed Jeremiah out the door. He shook his head. Maybe he'll bring us to Lola is. We passed a couple of identical bungalows and even spotted a couple of other campers. It seemed as if everyone staying near us belonged to the same pink group, as those were the only shirts we saw. The other campers avoided any form of eye contact. Lars even tried calling out to some, but we were blatantly ignored. We saw them in little groups, never alone. Some were playing card games, some were chatting or laughing. If it hadn't been for everything that happened this morning, this might have seemed like a regular camp. We kept following Jeremiah until we reached what I assumed was the dining hall. Our hopes of meeting Lola again vanished as we were greeted by the masses of pink. "Where are all the other campers?" I asked. "Teased, yes, we only eat with our kind boys. Do not dare to mingle with those other creatures, or you might regret it," Jeremiah said as he looked deep in my eyes. His picture-perfect face was showing creases in the skin and I thought he might explode any second until he started laughing hysterically. "I mean, I don't mind who you mingle with, but the other campers will straight up murder you and feast on your flesh. Alrighty now, go have a seat over there with your bunk buddies. They surely missed you." He grabbed my shoulder tightly and pointed us towards two guys sitting alone on a table. One of them had dark hair and a short beard. He looked a bit older than us, maybe in his late 20s or 30s. As we got closer I saw the name on his shirt. Julian. The other guy, Ian, was slightly younger with light hair and a mean scar on his face. Ian and I made eye contact for what must have been a second, but it was enough to understand what Lars spoke about earlier. We definitely had met before, even if I didn't remember the specifics. Sometimes your brain and body can't communicate in a way that you understand. It is almost as if there's a barrier somewhere inside you. Maybe it's the two brain halves not being able to connect properly, but at that moment my heart started racing and my hands were shaking. My body was reacting with anxiety at the look of Ian. If only I knew why. As he spotted us, I swear his mouth formed into a smile for a split second which quickly turned into a look of pure hate. Lars sat down in front of them and I reluctantly followed. "Guess you're back," the guy named Julian said in a dry tone. He looked neither happy nor surprised. "Of course they're fucking back, but not for long if we can help it," Ian said with a grin on his face. "What's your problem, man? Aren't you trapped in here just like us?" Lars smashed his fists against the wooden table. I could feel his rage build up. Boys, boys. Be nice or we will have to throw you in the fighting cage, ha ha. This is no team behavior. Look what you did to poor Ian last time." Fucking Jeremiah had appeared out nowhere again. Except this time he at least had some food for us, even if it wasn't exactly appetizing. He put down 2 trays with some slimy substance that looked like porridge mixed with dirt and a bottle of water. I know it doesn't look too promising, but just smell it. Fresh cinnamon always makes my heart feel full, Jeremiah whispered in my ear. "And now shush and enjoy." He gently stroked my hair and then took off again. Lars didn't even hesitate as he started shoving the weird substance in his mouth. "It's not that bad," he mumbled. My stomach was rumbling like crazy. I couldn't remember the last time I ate anything at all. I hadn't consumed anything since the beer at the bar. Jeremiah was right, it did smell like cinnamon, but it wasn't a nice scent. It made me feel sick. "Just eat it, you need to get your strength back," Lars whispered. I shook my head. Ian, who had closely watched us, got a small sachet out of his pocket. He looked around to see if anyone was watching and then started pouring it on my porridge. I can't stomach the cinnamon either. This helps. I figured it was salt. Ian didn't look like the kind of guy who would help me, but even if it was salt or anything else, I doubted that it could make this slime taste even worse, and so I took a big spoonful and shoved the dirt porridge down my throat. "Look, can we just be honest here? Neither I nor Lars remember anything about this camp. We have no idea what is going on, we're shitting our pants." Our friend was brought to the other group. "Marcus!" Lars shouted and hit his fist on my thigh, signaling me to be quiet. He didn't push that hard, but for some reason, I felt an excruciating pain go through my entire body. I had difficulties to even keep my breath steady. "We can't give you any information on that. All we know is that we live here now and that running away will get you killed. Staying might get you killed as well though. Look around. Every single person in this room wants to see you dead, and the ones from the other team even more so," Julian said. "We were obviously here before and they caught us again." "Why didn't they kill us?" Lars asked. "Because you didn't escape. They let you go. You were the ones dumb enough to come back," Ian hissed. "And on top of that, you ruined things for us as well." I started speaking but couldn't finish my sentence. It felt like something was tearing me up from the inside. "Whoa Marcus, your face has turned white as paper. Are you okay?" I shook my head. Whatever fucking Ian had given me was about to make its way back up my throat. Ian laughed and pointed towards the corner of the room with a bathroom sign. I got up as fast as I could and ran inside the first stall. I was just in time. The vomit was shooting out of my mouth. I threw up my guts until there was absolutely nothing left in my stomach. Porridge was followed by spit, yellow bill, and finally, something green and bitter which I assume was even more bile. My stomach was cramping up and my entire body was in pain. My breathing became faster and tears were dripping from my eyes. Everything had gone to absolute shit in a matter of a couple of hours. As I sat there at the bottom of the bathroom stall, close to giving up, I heard Lars's voice from the outside. "Marcus? That fucking bastard," I cried. "He tried poisoning me." Lars opened the door to the stall and sat down beside me. "Yeah, I don't think we should trust any of the people here." I nodded. He handed me the bottle of water and my stomach slowly calmed down. At least there was nothing left inside that could come out. I was collecting my strength to finally get up again and confront Ian when Lars pointed at a dark stain on my thigh. "Is that blood?" he asked. It was the spot where he had hit me with his fist earlier. There was no way he could have hit that hard. I pulled down my pants and was more than surprised to see blood all over my legs surrounding a big cut. I gently touched it with my fingers and noticed that it wasn't just one cut, there was something carved in my thigh. "That's a word." Lars got up to pour some water on a piece of toilet paper and handed it to me. I cleaned off the blood and realized that Lars was right. It seemed I had left a message on my own body. "Killian. I knew we couldn't trust the bastard and now we have proof. He just poisoned you," he said. "Everyone wants us dead, that includes him. We can't trust him or that Julian guy. Or anyone for that matter. We need to." The door to the bathroom opened with a sudden bang and I quickly pulled my pants back up. It was Jeremiah. I swear I will see his uncanny face in my nightmares until the day I die. "Boys, you are making me go all woozy. Gosh. It's no time for a bathroom break. We are about to start our first round. Against the blue campers." I had completely lost my sense of time. I thought it was sometime around the afternoon, but by the time we left the dining hall, it was pitch black outside. The only thing keeping me slightly sane was having Lars here with me. I couldn't imagine how Lola was feeling right now. However, they were about to take that last straw away from me as well. We were supposed to complete this round in teams of 2, and of course, I was teamed up with Ian. Nobody told us a thing about what was about to happen. After teaming us up, they tied up our hands behind our back and blindfolded us. Somebody took my hand and we started walking. I have no idea where we were going or who the person taking me was, though I guessed it was Jeremiah. From the sounds of breaking sticks on the ground, I assumed we were going through the forest. Finally, we stopped and I heard some rumbling next to me. "You wait exactly 5 minutes and then you untie him. Understood?" I heard an unfamiliar voice say, followed by the sound of them walking away. "What's going on?" I cried but received no answer. After what felt like an eternity, my hands were freed. I ripped the blindfold off my face and was immediately struck by a silver light burning right into my eyes. Fuck. I took a step back and started blinking a few times until I could finally make sense of what was in front of me. It was Ian holding a torch. In his hands were a sharp knife and a piece of paper. "We need to hunt down this chick," he said nonchalantly as if he hadn't just almost destroyed my vision. He passed me the piece of paper which had a photo printed on it. My vision was still blurry, but between the dots of green and blue, I recognized the girl on the photo. It was Lola. My friend Lola, who was separated from us and brought to the blue camp. "What do you mean hunt her down?" He held up the knife. "Like make the bell ring?" he said. I stayed quiet. Ian was not to be trusted and told him that Lola is my friend would probably fuel his anger even more. I had to think quickly. Killian. 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 That was all that was running through my mind. If we don't get him first, he will try and get rid of us. He wants to hunt Lola. He wants us dead. Everyone here wants us dead. The lack of sleep and food were destroying my mind. All I knew was that I had to survive and get my friends out of here. With a sudden movement, I jumped him from behind and managed to get a hold of the knife. "Don't fucking move," I shouted and held the knife right to his throat. "What the hell are you doing?" he whispered. "I'm gonna get rid of you before you can do the same to us." His eyes turned sad instead of scared. "You're letting all of this get to your head. Breathe," he whispered. "Don't try to play mind games with me, Ian. I know damn well what you're up to." Slowly Ian moved his right hand up and touched the back of mine. I was praying that he didn't feel how terribly I was shaking. I had gotten myself into a really dangerous situation and he looked stronger than me. If he grabbed the knife I'd be gone. I tightened my grip but Ian didn't even try to go for the knife. Very slowly he took a tiny step back, Just enough so that his cold knife wouldn't be resting right against his throat. Then he got really close to my ear and whispered something inside them. "I'm not Ian and you're not Marcus. Your name is Killian and your friends want to murder you."